So when we see these little bundle of joys, we know, they are there. They are when physically you touch your infant for the first time. What do you feel? You feel that warmth. You just want to cuddle the child. You hold your child. It's a memorable moment. The boy, that little one, is fully developed. It has come. It's your being. It's a part of you who has come out. And when you hold it, you see that it's fully developed. The body parts are fully developed. They has tiny little hands and little toes and legs and those beautiful eyes and the small, gentle, soft face that you see. It's a wonderful experience, right? We all know, and you see that, okay, this was the little being that was there inside me as mothers, and you get overwhelmed when you see them, when you hold them in your hands. So when the child is born, at that time, the child looks something like this. The physical being is there, but you know what? The fact is that the brain organ is not fully developed at that time. It's not fully developed at this time. Uh, 90% of the brain development happens in the first 5 years of the child's life. And how is that happening? When we see that, child is a whole being, it has come up. Yes, the child's brain is formed to a certain extent. The brain development happens from conceiving to, the early years, and the brain is developing over the period, right? It's a scientific process. The brain is going through development phase in throughout our lives. There are little neuron connections, little dots that are connected with everything that we do. So when in these primary years you see that brain development is happening so fast, uh, how can you contribute to it? Whereas the most of the child is eating, or just feeding and sleeping and doing nothing. So how is the brain development happen? And we always say that brain development happens when you use it, right? We always been told of that. So what you see are the images, the little dots in our brains, and they form connections. These are called neurons. So in an infant, uh, almost 1 million of neuron connections are formed every second. They are already born with a lot of neuron connections when they are at birth, but it is very, very fast. The neuron connections happening in the child's brain is very fast. Every experience that they feel, they touch, they hear a sound, everything forms a new connection in the brain. So it's happening very fast. You can imagine that the brain volume gets doubled by the age of 2 months. Since the birth to 2 months, the brain volume just doubles. So how fast is it happening? Though we're not able to see it, right? You don't see it outside. You just see the little one who's sleeping and little cuddling there. So, brain development is fastest amongst 3 to 6 months. These are some of the facts that I'm just sharing with you. And, the child, whatever he feeds on, whatever he drinks, and he's doing his whole metabolic energy, 60% of the metabolic energy is used in brain development, versus an adults, only 25% of our metabolic energy is utilized in doing that. As a baby starts to experience life, these connections are made, and they go on developing in the primary years. They are at the peak, and I'll be running you through. You'll be seeing in later slides how it happens. Uh, it is happening very, very fast, very fast. So, by the age of 2, they have the same number of neuron connection as an adult. And by age 3, a child has twice as many as brain connections of an adult. Why is that so? You know, it's because when we don't use certain parts, there is a process called pruning, which also happens. Neuron connections, there are certain neuron connections, if you're not using those parts, they start to, like pruning, it's like slicing or cutting away. They are dying, and new neuron connections are formed every second. So, these are some interesting facts, right? Uh, we look into the domains of infant development. The four domains of infant development are language development, physiomotor development, cognitive development, and socio-emotional development. We'll be talking about this in detail. We'll be visiting every domain and talk about a little bit more in detail about it. As I spoke about the neuron connections which are forming so fast, and how are they forming? The little ones, when they see you, when they hear anything, when they touch anything, every time they touch, there's a new neuron connection happening. So, but when they revisit, when they touch the same thing or hear the same sounds, those neuron connections start getting deeper and deeper into the brain, and they start making sense out of it, right? These neuron connections are happening. And how does that happen? uh, the neuron connections, infants explore their world through using their senses, right? First when they see you, they look at you, and then they try to make sense out of it. They touch everything, they put everything in their mouth, right? That's how they're exploring. They're little scientists who are exploring and making the observations. They are in their experiment phase, and every time they touch, feel anything, it forms a neuron connection. So when they touch, they are analyzing whether it's hard, soft, how does this feel? If I put this thing in the mouth, how does it feel? If I put food in my mouth, how does that feel? So they are just making, every experience is getting registered in the brain. That's how they're forming these connections. And these neuron connections, these pathways, are called synapses. And it varies from individual to individual. No two brains are aligned alike. The neuron connections are, everybody's experiences are different. And that's why when you hear, you often hear this saying that, our brains are wired differently. Well, this is what it means, that your brains are wired differently, because your experiences are different. How you explored something might have been different from the other person. So these million of neuron connections which are happening, these are creating path, and every time they visit those paths, they revisit, it gets deepened. I'll give you an example. Uh, what happens when you walk on a sandy beach or you go on a muddy path? You walk for the first time, you see your footprints are getting there, right? You see your footprints embedding. If you keep on walking on that again and again and again, what happens? Your footprints get deeper and deeper. And that's what happens with infants. Every time they experience, the pathways get deeper. And so in the primary years, the language development that happens, because language is very, very important domain of development. We are talking to the child all the time, and those development gets deeper in the age. Even if you see by old age, you have people, sometimes very, very old people, who have amnesia, they forget things, but they don't forget to speak. How is that so? A thought, right? Just think about it. They do not forget because the neuron connections are much deeper. Those pathways are much deeper in terms of language. So every time you speak to your child, a child is understanding and repeating. So when the child is repeating something, his neuron connections are getting deeper. At infant, when they are born, the visual development is least mature compared to the hearing, the smell. The visual development is least mature. You'll be amazed to know that, infants, uh, see, it has been told in some of the studies that, children may see in black and white and gray when they are born for a couple of months. They slowly start developing vision to see colors. And also they cannot see far, they have blurred vision. So something close in proximity 8 to 10 inches, if you go close, you usually go close and talk to the child, right? And that's when he's able to see you. So within 8 to 10 inches of difference, 30 centimeters across, if you're there near the child is able to see and hear you better, because their vision is not so developed. By the age of 4 to 5 months, the vision starts developing, it slowly starts increasing. They identify you. Then you'll say, if my child cannot see, how is my child connecting with me? Oh, I thought my baby is looking and smiling at me. Yes, your baby definitely identifies you, but more through using the sense of hearing and the sense of smell. The child connects with you through the smell, through the amniotic fluid or the smell. Every day when you hold the child, they are sensing you through the smell. Yeah. So What as parent can you do in the cognitive development of the child? How can you help the child? Let him explore, let him touch and feel everything. Talk to your child, give him all the experiences. Hold them, yes, hold them for sure, but not all the time. Age milestones. These are some of the age milestones, age-related milestones. At 4 months, the infant brain's responds to every sound produced in all the languages in the world. So, it responds to every sound. So every time there's a neuron connection formed. Remember that. 8 to 9 months, baby can form specific memories from the experiences. They can hold the rattle, they can make sounds, and they can make sense out of it. And they remember that if I'm holding this, if I shake it, this kind of sound will come. So they associate with it better. By 10 to 12 months, babies can now distinguish and produce sounds of their own. They start babbling, baba, mama, tata, whatever sounds, cute little sounds that they do, and they try to imitate that. They pay attention to every new sound that they hear. They like exaggerating. There's a language, if you call it parentese, where you stress on certain words when you're talking to the child and the child connects with it better. For example, if you can see, when I see a picture in a book and I say it was a big elephant, and I'm exaggerating on the word, and the child will associate with the picture better, rather than if we just say in a monotonous way that this is an elephant, and the child might remember. But the more you exaggerate, the more you bring voice modulation and show pictures relative to it or show the objects around it, the child connects with it better and faster, and it starts making sense out of those things in a much faster pace. By 12 to 18 months, baby can keep, their memories start developing. They remember little things that they like their dislikes, they know where you keep things, where you have hidden. So peekaboo kind of games are fun to play at that age, because their memory, now they can recognize, okay, you kept this here hidden last time, I'll go and search it there again. So if you've hidden something, a toy that you showed, okay, today I'm hiding here, the next time when you ask the child, he'll try to go and search in the same place because he is developing those memories. By 24 to 36 months, children start showing emotions. They start expressing their feelings. They start showing separation anxiety. They are aware of who's my caregiver, and they form fondness towards, they attach to the caregiver. So, they start feeling the separation part. Physiomotor development is the second domain, which I would like to spend some time here. Physiomotor development is all about the child's physical development. In physical development, there are two major areas that we look into: the gross motor development and the fine motor development. The gross motor is the bigger muscles of the body, and fine motors are the finer muscles, the finger muscles, those kind of finer motor muscles are there for development. So when a child is born, he's already born with an inborn reflex, and it automatically responds to particular kind of stimulation. Like, for example, blinking. When you throw light on a child's face, like you can see in the image, if you throw torch or some light on child's eye, he is going to close those eyes. He's going to blink. So that is a reflex which is already born with. Yeah. And when they gasp, they suck. Yes, you put the child knows sucking from birth. These are reflexes. You put anything in the mouth and the child starts sucking, right? You put your finger in the mouth, you put bottle in the mouth, and the child automatically starts sucking, which is because the child already is born with those reflexes. Some of these reflexes, are temporary. Some are permanent. Some phase out with some after a few months. Like, a child like to, when you give a finger, the child grasp and hold your finger tightly. How tightly an infant holds it, right? It's very difficult to sometimes take out your finger if you've given it to, and you love that experience. I love the first touch of a child. That reminds me of that. So, it is very difficult, but, after a couple of months, uh, after, say, 3 to 4 months, this gasping goes away. Slowly, the child starts opening its palm, its fingers, all those, developments are happening, and is able to keep his or her fist open for longer. Yes. Sucking, infants suck since birth, but that also automatically, after a period, they know, okay, now I have to suck only when I get a bottle. They won't suck everything that is there in the you put in the mouth. So it also fades away. It's a temporary phase. uh, it's written, stepping. Stepping is what? When you hold the child upright and try to make him stand, he tries to lift his leg. And you can see in the image that the infant is trying to lift his leg like as if he's about to walk. So that is primitive of walking, you can say. That's called stepping. So these are reflexes which the child is already born with. And some of the gross motor development that you look and the child develops over a period is like, sitting. My back strengthens and I start sitting, and I start rolling. uh, Also, start crawling, and then, try to attempt to stand as my muscles are developing. So what you need to do for these things, how do you make sure that the physical development of the child is happening at the right pace, in the right direction? Again, as I say, you must have heard, I used to hear my grandmother always say that, don't lift the child all the time. Make your child to lie on surfaces so that he can throw his legs and arms, because that is how the muscle movement is happening and the muscles will develop. Create opportunities for the child to, sit by 5 to 6 months when the child is showing readiness. You see, when the neck is stable, giving tummy times at around 3 months, you can start giving tummy time to the child. Tummy time is where, you let the child lie on the tummy and he tries to lift his neck backwards. So all those opportunities giving him is going to help. We often also, uh, ignore the sitting and crawling part. We feel the child is going to fall and we don't, make him to sit. It is a good idea to let your child sit with support when ready, and, slowly moving those supports, and the child, you will see that, is becoming a stable at sitting. And then, they start crawling. Usually these, rolling child starts to sit by 5 to 9 months, somewhere between that. See, when we are giving an outline, if I'm saying 5 months, doesn't mean that if your child is not sitting at 5 months, you get worried and panicked about it. It is just giving a window that between 5 to 9 months, usually, a child starts to sit. Some children start sitting earlier or crawling earlier. Some take a little bit more of time. So crawling can happen anytime between 5 months to 11 months. So when the child is ready to crawl, you're making him to sit. He goes into crawling position and we get paranoid. Oh, he will fall on his chin. He'll get hurt. And we often just cushion everything around. Avoid doing that. Yes, keep it safe. Have things, furniture and all away so that the child gets space to have some movement. Putting the child on a mat where he can attempt to crawl. Uh, Give him some toys which, he will be motivated to go and grasp it, then only he'll attempt to crawl. So, let the child give. As I said, you have to create opportunities. As adults, as caregivers, we need to create opportunities for the child to explore, and then only these development would, speeden up. They're going to happen at the right time when the child is ready to, stand. Mostly it happens between 9 to 17 months that the child attempts to stand and start walking. So standing with support, give them opportunity to keep the toy a little up on a table where the child will, stands there and play with it for a while. They get tired, they do sit down, but giving them small opportunities like this throughout the day will help develop the child's gross motor muscles and is going to stand. Giving him objects to touch and hold. Objects like give him hard objects, soft objects, giving him food materials to handle. When they are ready for solids, you can, give them carrot sticks, cucumber sticks, those kind of things to hold in hand. So they put everything in the mouth. It helps in the teething process also. And also the child is exploring. They know how much, they do not have teeth. They try to rub against it. They try chewing it. And that's how, when they're doing all these things, what is happening in the process? While the fine motor and gross motor are also getting developed, the brain development, the cognitive development is also happening, because he's a scientist, as I told you. He's exploring everything that's happening around by touching, exploring, putting in the mouth. Little scientist brain is working on it and trying to find out the do's and don'ts. Well, how does this feel? This thing is something that makes me feel happy. This thing that's something that I don't like. He's making all observations, and everything is getting registered in that little tiny brain of theirs. So please help your child as caregiver to give him opportunities in helping them sitting and crawling. Usually, when children are taking at reflexes sometimes is a good idea when your child, at different ages, to see when you clap, is the child looking in the direction of the sound, blinking, is he moving his eye with the object when you show a rattle or a toy? Is the child moving his eye and looking in the direction of the object or not? These are things that you just keep on seeing. If it is happening very good, that means the child's development is happening in the right direction. Children who sometimes, take time in crawling or walking, if it goes beyond 17 months, then you can talk to your pediatrician. If you're aware of these milestones, that's what the session is all about, that if you're aware and, we can help the child achieve it. If there is something we need to, we are seeing that this development is not happening at the right time or it's getting delayed, then it's a good idea to discuss it with your pediatrician so that he can help you or give you little tips which will help your child achieve those milestones. Yeah. Moving on to the next area of development, which is the language development. So language is all about talking, right? And since birth, we all love talking to our children. No matter, we know they don't understand, they're smiling, they're giggling, to just make them laugh and giggle. We talk everything to a child, right? And that's very good. You should be doing that. Talk to your child as much as you can. Sometimes there are people I have met over the period, we've had parents coming that, what to talk to the child. They're always wondering and they don't talk. They just, often just see that the basic needs are met, the child is well fed, and, having some playtime or, resting well. Uh, and in doing so, sometimes they do not communicate. And with the nuclear families that we are having, with the work culture that we have, when we are working, we have very little time to talk to our children. So I would request all the parents, all the caregivers, talk to your child, communicate as much as you can. How do infant communicate? Yeah, from day one, you know that they communicate, right? They make sounds, they cry out for everything that they need, and that's how they communicate. So if you have noticed that, children cry when they are hungry, when they are uncomfortable, or if they are tired, sleepy, or in any pain, that's the time when usually a baby cries, right? So during that time when the child is crying, those cries are also different at times. When they're tired, the cry might sound like I am tired. You'll be, as caregivers, we are able to make out that why is the child crying over a period. The infants are already learning about all the spoken languages their birth or caregivers talk. So talk to them come close to their face and talk. That way they understand better, they see your lip movements, they see your expressions, and they respond to it better. As I said earlier also, bring a lot of voice modulation when you're talking to them. Some studies say that at 7 months, the part associated with physical speech are ready. So the more languages that we speak, often we come to know as educationists, we have parents who come, children are having delay in speech. It could be because we are speaking multiple languages, but that's a myth. Scientifically, the more languages lead to better executive function of the brain. So the more languages the child hears, it's good for the child. Yes, if there are children who have struggled with speech, could be that we are assuming that it is because so many multiple languages are spoken at home, but it could be the problem could be that the child is not able to, the part which at the brain is not able to associate with those different languages. He's taking more time to process to understand those languages. That could be one reason. But most of the time, having lot of languages, speaking to the child in your native language, whatever it is around the child, is going to lead to better functioning of the brain. Yeah. So we see some milestones that, by 2 to 4 months, they start making signs like gaga, foo foo, and all those funny little sounds. They talk in their baby language and you enjoy those. Those are adorable sounds, right? By 6 months, they start to babble. They try to imitate some words. And by 9 to 12 months, usually they start speaking single words like mama, papa, come, dada, tata, all those kind of words is what they start to speak. By 7 to 8 months, a child understands how you're having conversation. He starts making sense out of when two people are talking. He starts making sense and imitating sounds. Especially, they're very fascinated with animal sounds, right? I think songs like Old MacDonald and all are their favorites because they associate with it. And there will be a point when when you talk to your child and you say something and they respond with that same goo gaga. Every time you ask that same question, they know I have to respond here. And we've seen that we do infant stories at school when we do infant story time and we are reading the same repeating the same story, and the child after a while knows that oh, here, what did the animal say? And the child will respond with some sound, some babbling sound. Maybe he's not able to make the animal sound, but will attempt to respond. So, these are wonderful things to look at. Infants' receptive language is much more developed. They are receiving more than expressing, but slowly, over the period, it starts getting developed. So what is an adult? How can you help in child's development, language development? How can we do that? And as you can see on my screen, talk, talk, and talk. Do not stop talking. It's very funny. I talk to a lot to my children. When my babies were very, very young, I used to make sure that I'm reading to them and singing to them. So I used to talk a lot and I used to narrate like my son, I used to say, take his name, Samay, what are you doing? Samay is going to eat food, Samay khayega, Samay jayega. So that there was a point then he started, it was like a commentary going on throughout the day. And he used to use his old name for every sentence that he used to talk. Samay wants to do this, Samay wants to, every sentence would start with his own name. But I feel that is a phase that goes away, but it's fun. So talk to your child about everything. Uh, Again, as I'm saying, make, with babies, you come close and talk. The moment they become a little walking ones and exploring, so you talk from a distance. It's always good to talk when you're making eye contact. You're at the same level with the child. Then the child is able to receive it better. You can imitate the child's tone. As I told earlier, use voice modulation, like exaggerating some words, like huge elephant, or, it was a scary thing. So I'm bringing modulation in my voice, and the child understands that word better, connects with it better, and reception is definitely better. comment about everything in the baby's environment. You see a child looking at something. Oh yeah, you're looking at an apple. Does it look nice to you? I wonder if you like eating that. Having these conversations, it sometimes feel, we adults, when we talk, we feel like we're talking to ourselves because we feel we're the child. I don't know whether he's able to understand, but believe me, they understand. They understand, and that's how they learn. Their vocabulary is built. They see, when I was looking at this, mama says this word or dada says this word, and they start making sense out of it. Label everything that you see. Label everything that the child sees, or you show it to them. I'm emphasizing this on a lot because I want your children to talk to you. The communication is the best tool to connect with your child. So just keep on talking to your child as much as you can. Tell them little stories. Even if you're stressed out, you sit and say, I am feeling tired, you are having fun, I see that anything, talk about anything, but keep on talking. The babies might respond in their baby language. When they respond in their baby language, do acknowledge that. Oh, so, you said goo goo. Oh, is that so? Do you understand what I'm saying? So you keep on communicating with the child and respond to their goo goos and gagas, the sounds that they make, and that will motivate them to speak, will motivate them to repeat the words and start communicating verbally, make more attempts. If baby is doing goo goo gaga and nobody is responding, then the child will not make an attempt. I didn't get any response. Doesn't that happen to us? If you're conversing and you're the only person talking and the other person does not respond, how do you feel? After a point, you will also keep quiet and you'll sit down. Well, that can happen to a baby too. So please continue talking. Use many different words, introduce uncommon words, explain what they mean, and repeat them. Repeat and expand and repeat the words, and again and again, and repetition as much as you can do. Well, again, building into the language development, how can you do it? Read, read, and read. You should always read to your child. It's a wonderful thing, from somewhere 2 to 3 months, where children, start looking at the pictures. Introducing big picture books is a good idea. And, reading to them, label every object that they see, the image that they see in the book is going to build their vocabulary, and they're going to look at it and see, wow, this is what it, and they associate. When you develop vocabulary, you make an attempt to use it, right? So repetition helps. Infants and babies and toddlers in early years, they love to hear the same story again and again. So do not hesitate to repeat. Repetition is building their vocabulary and speech. Make it an interactive experience. So once you tell and say, oh, what do you think he's doing? And the baby responds with the sound, a baby babble, and you acknowledge that. That's how we read to a child. Take your baby in your lap and hold the book close and turn the pages slowly. Let him observe, let him stare at the images. Spend time on that. Do not do a fast reading. Use voice modulation. Make it fun. Yeah? Have lots of books around. That's the best thing that you can give to your child. And yes, one thing very important. Often we know that, babies love music. They love music a lot. So we often play music around in the house. But, scientifically it is proven that, when the human voice is what is much, much better than the ready-made music around. It helps in brain development. So, every time a mother or a caregiver sings to the child is more relaxed. It soothes him. His brain development, you can see the brain development, the stimulus in the brain increases. So always, nobody can replace the human voice with any rhyme or gadget. So, sing to your child. You might say, I'm not a very good singer, but believe me, for your child, you're going to be the best one. So do not lose that opportunity and sing to your child. You are your child's favorite singer. So sing anything that comes to your mind. Sing in your native language. Sing in English. Sing in any language that you want. But do sing softly. Sing a little with modulation, make it fun, and encourage your child to sing along with you. Please, yes, it's good to play rhymes these days on gadgets, but yes, please do sing to your child. These are going to help your child develop the language skills that are required, and you will see the difference when you start doing this with your child. Social emotional development. Yeah, very, very important thing, right? We want our children to be social, happy. They meet everyone that they see and say hello to them once they grow, right? We take pride in that. So, yes. But there are certain phases, yes, that comes later when they start socializing. We will talk about it. There are different, phases in a child's social emotional development that a child during birth, at birth till 6 weeks, birth to 6 weeks, the child is in a pre-attachment phase, and the attachment phase is next, which comes between 6 to 8 months, and then 8 to 24 months is two phases, I would say: clear cut attachment phase, and then by 18 to 24 months they start forming relationships. So these are four phases in social emotional development of the child. uh, when we say birth to 6 weeks, the child is pre-attached, because at that time his basic needs are met by the caregiver. The child is not going to be under distress if he has to be. It doesn't matter to them who's holding them, right? uh, Whereas for a caregiver, I think this attachment phase is more for the caregiver or the parent, mother, all of them to get attached. They get attached, right? Because you're responding to every child's need. You're making sure that the child, you're feeding, you're burping, you're taking care of the child. So then that is more attachment phase for the adult happening, whereas the infants do not care who's taking care of me. By 6 to 8, between 6 weeks to 6 to 8 months, they start showing preference towards a particular adult. This is when they start forming emotional connect. So, after 8 months, they actually start realizing when the parent is not around, and they start crying. So the separation part, they start understanding. Once they form the attachment phase is over, and they go through it, they start feeling the separation part too. So clear cut attachment phase is between 6 months to 24 months. Children, when they go to preschool, especially at toddler age, it is the separation anxiety is the maximum. So they cry a lot. We've seen, working with little children, that infants who come at 6 months, 7 months of age, they settle the fastest in a preschool environment or a daycare environment. Whereas, the children who grow older, they come after 1 year of age. They find it difficult to be away from their parent, because, as I told you, the separation anxiety is maximum at this point. So they go through that phase, and so it's good that the child is led to explore and left with different adults in the house. When you step out, uh, it makes it easier for the child to stay away from you. Otherwise, by the toddler age, they become very, very cranky when somebody leaves them. Yeah. So, by 18 to 24 months, the children also start negotiating for what they want. They start throwing tantrums. They understand no very clearly, By 6 to 8 months, they start understanding the no when you tell them no, and they might not like it, but they do. Well, for social, emotional aspect, hold your child, talk to your child, as we talked about. Let him also play and be around other children. That's how that will help them to develop socially, give them social setting where other children of the own child's own age are coming and developing. Well, I'll show this video for you. There's a cute video of just developmental milestones. Have a look at it.
Learn about your baby's growth and development every month with Baby Development Checklist from 0 to 12 months. First month, lifts head briefly, attracted to face, blinks at bright light, brings hands to head. Second month, tracks objects with eyes, makes noises other than crying, like cooing or gurgling. Awareness of fingers, recognizes parents' faces. Third month, open and closes fists, grasps and shakes hands toys, pushes down with legs when placed on a hard surface, lifts head up 45 degrees. Fourth month, explores objects with mouth, looks at small objects, laughing, rolls from front to back. Fifth month, doubles birth weight, bears weight on legs when arms are held, can have conversation but mimicking, uses hands in raking fashion for toys. Sixth month, responds to name, first trip to playground, drinks from sippy cup with help, makes wet razzing sounds. Seventh month, can tell emotions by tone of voice. First big bath, gets in crawling position, can self-feed some finger food. 8th month, may sleep 11 to 13 hours a night and take 2 naps. Reaches for utensils when being fed. Sits unsupported. High fives. 9th month, drops objects and looks for them. Full self to standing. Means to identify self-mirror. Waves by. 10th month, cruises furniture. Backs things together. Says mama and dada and knows what to mean. 11th month, crawls well. Triples birth weight. Puts objects in containers and takes them out. Interested in books. 12th month, walks with help. Pushes away unwanted things. Shares toys but want back. Takes of hat and socks. Those are the changes of baby's first 12-month cycle. Hope the points will be.
Well, that was just a checklist, just a recap of the milestones that we discussed. Very important sensorial learning that we give a child. Pay attention to what child wants, how he's curious, how he's looking at objects, how is he exploring, what is he touching, all those things. Stay close and observe these. Place objects of different size and shapes and textures for the child to put and explore. Touch it and explore it, hold it. Make things happen, watch for results, and you can keep on giving the objects that they like. So describe the name of the object. That will help the child understand and make connections. If you see between 0 to 8 months, we talked about again, I'm bringing that point again, close to your child's face, turn your head when you just see whether the child is responding when somebody enters or he hears a new sounds, and reach out to new objects. This is what your child is going to do. He's going to put everything in the mouth. That's how he's exploring. It's called the oral stage also, where he's exploring everything through putting in the mouth. He also reaches out for new toys, all those things, hicks or kicks, kicks the toys, throws the toys, that all is going to happen. Between 8 to 18 months, older infants start looking at the book, they start feeling, they touch you, they come and touch your hair, face, they enjoy doing that. They enjoy playing with objects that make sound, so they throw an object and it makes a sound, they attempt to do it again and again. Not that they want to irritate us, but they do it because they are exploring. And giving them musical instruments at this point is good idea. They really enjoy the rattles and the musical instruments. Ask by, continue game, sing more, They enjoy all the moving toys. Push and go kind of toys are good at this point. That helps them to crawl. They push and the toy goes, and they also attempt to go after it. Um, Different shape boxes, shape sorters are good. Stackings are good. This is things where the child will hold and move. You can see this is just an image to show you. It is all by all research based, where they saw that the sensory pathway and the language, you see that the peakest, it's at its peak during the early years. And as we talked about, the pruning starts happening when we start not using those things in the later part. These are the first year of baby's milestones, just for us to see. Uh, you know, uh, you can see newborn can only see. These are all things that I have talked already covered in the thing. It is just for you to see, and we already saw the video of it too. We are already, coming almost to the end of the session. Yeah. So I hope I've covered most of the points. Yes, what babies need most is strong, caring, and continuous relationship. They need you to be close to them. Their physical touch is also very important for them. They need to feel the sense of security, your responsiveness, and yes, setting solid education foundations. Helping them build their self-help skills is something I would just take 2 minutes of yours. Remember that we were talking about physical development. We feed them, but giving a child to hold a spoon is also very important. Letting the child to eat on its own is very important, because these are all helping in the motor development of the child and giving them the confidence to explore things, to try new things. Uh, these are things that your baby definitely needs it. And you know what's most important? They need is you. You are an important piece of a child's life. We've talked about the facts. These are some things that, nobody can replace. You are a parent, you are the caregiver, and you play a very, very important role in your child's development. So they are influenced by play, by people around them, the community, they need nutrition, yes, and they learn in every possible way, exploring. So just you are the most important part in a child's life. And I know you all are wonderful parents who must be doing everything best possible for your child. But yes, keeping those milestones, being aware of it will help you take it in the right direction. I hope this was helpful to you. We can take any questions if we have now. Okay, I'm going through some of the questions that you people have posted. Let me just go through it and let me see how I can help you with that. Well, I see they say, which month do they start looking at the direction? Usually between 2 to 3 months, they start looking at in the direction of the sound. I hope I've answered your question. Somebody has asked, how does clay help in building the developmental milestones? Well, at Clay, we do have infant curriculum. It is designed scientifically, keeping all these milestones uh, in mind. We give them an environment which has a lot of stimulus, a lot of sensorial activities. They touch, they feel. We read to them and help in language development. We have activities will help in gross motor and fine motor development. We read to them, we sing to them, so that's something that we do at Clay. And our infants are doing a wonderful job. Over the caregivers do a wonderful part in taking care of them, not only the care part, but also the learning aspect, as we talked about, that the brain development is happening so fast in the early years. So we cannot waste any time there. So giving them exposure to form those neural connections is definitely what we do. I have a question that says, any recommendation on types of food or ways to make a fussy 1-year-old eat? Yes, what we say is, do you like anybody forcing you to do anything? Uh, we don't like it, right? So the best way is not to force your child. Uh, Make your child, ready for eating. Do not force for anything. Make him sit and eat as much as possible. I always feel as a parent, uh, and that's my experience, that the best thing that I invested in was a high chair, where my child was sitting with me on the table, and I'm offering food to the child. They like to explore, they're little explorers, right? So if you do not let them touch or feel the food, then somewhere hinders. You are cutting the cord there where the child development is getting hindered. The experience was all about food. Food is not just about feeding the quantity. We always talk about horizontal relevance of food, which is where the child, as I told you, explores everything through senses, right? So if they're exploring everything through senses, and if I don't let the child touch the food, smell the food, or look at the food, sometimes what we adults do, we since the child is not ready to sit, he wants to run around, he's a little explorer, right? So we feed the child in the balcony, we show them little birds, and the mama or papa puts the spoon from behind. Well, I would recommend that's not the right way to do it. Please, let the child see the food sitting in one place without any distraction. You can talk to your child while feeding, but talk about the food texture, the color. Do you hold it? Give him a spoon to hold it. Let him play with the food. Often we do not let the child do that, is because we are fearing of the mess that's going to create. So letting your child explore, touching will give him, again, when we touch food, I've always talked about this to parents when they come, and we've seen, tremendous results. The children who are the fussiest eater, when they come to us and we work scientifically with them, following all these things where we sit together and eat, we call the social setting, the restaurant kind of setting. We sit together and we eat, and the child gets more interested in eating. It's similar as you go to a restaurant. Do you enjoy sitting at home and eating by yourself, or do you enjoy going out and eating with your friends, or when you have guests over, right? We always enjoy that. We are social animals. So having that social setting, sitting together and eating, is something I really highly recommend. Letting your child touch the food, eat the portion that he wants to, often our love, our motherly, our paternal love, is all lies into feeding the child. We feel the more we feed, the better parents we are. So, but that is not the right thing to do. The child's tummy size is about his own fist size, so you can imagine how much can go in it. uh, well, you can choose the food, the nutrition part that you want to give to your child, but the quantity should be decided by the person. So if the child moves away and does not want to eat, do not force feed the child, because the more you force feed, it causes stress for the child, and childs become a fussy eater. The biggest reason for children not to eat is because they go through a stress during that period, and they understand when you are getting worried, oh, eat, you're not, you're not eating properly and you're running behind the child is sensing that stress. You're not the same fun mama or papa that you're throughout the day. The moment it comes to food, everybody stresses out. So our bodies respond to stress in a different way, right? When in any stressful situation. So when the stress is created around food, children start disliking food. When you don't let them explore, they want to touch and feel everything. But when it comes to food, we do not let them. Indian way of eating is very good. We touch our food, and we have, as you know, all our bodies, full bodies of muscles and nerves. So the nerves in the fingertips send the message. With the moment you touch the food with the fingers, the fingertips have nerves which send the signal to the brain, telling that, well, food is there. And what happens in that process? The digestive enzymes get secreted in your mouth, and the digestion process starts building up, and that's where the body gets ready to intake food. So if I'm not letting my child touch the food, that means I am somewhere disrupting the whole process of digestion, of eating. So as parents, I would request you, is my sincere request, and we've seen the children turn around in school when we give them the freedom to eat. When they say no, we listen to that no. That's very important, because they're signaling, I don't want to eat more, but you are forcing me. You are deciding. What happens if you are full? You say, I don't want to eat another chapati, or I can't have more, and somebody opens your mouth and stuffs it in. How would you feel? It's the same thing that the baby feels. So I would say keep the portion size small as much as your child can eat, and follow that. Make a healthy, stress-free environment. Let the child see the food, explore the food through the looking at the texture, smelling the aroma of the food, and then eating by himself as much as possible. In between, you can give the bites, but yes, let the child start with finger, give some finger food for the child to explore, and that's a good way. I hope I've answered your question. There's a question, how to introduce finger foods. Well, as I told you, from initial, you can start by giving carrot sticks or cucumber sticks, or, boiled potato sticks, banana, which is something a child can, start eating. You can give them biscuits when, around when you see that they can start melting the glucose biscuits, they put in the mouth and it starts slowly dissolving. So these kind of finger foods you can definitely introduce when the child has stable neck. He's sitting. When you start on solid foods, you start with pureed, but I think around 7 to 8 months, you can definitely start giving finger foods. Depends on the child's readiness for sure, but do not panic. Children learn to explore and they make judgment. How can I eat this? If you don't like it, if it's hard for them, they will, not take it. I hope I've answered that question of yours. Let me see if I can take any more questions. Well, it says that since the parents are working from home, and there's a lot of screen time that we end up giving to the children. So I would answer that, for infants, we recommend no screen time as much as possible, because when we give screen time, what is happening when the child is going through watching a cartoon or a rhyme, a lot of visual stimulus is happening, and it is so fast that the brain is unable to register that time. So you can have pauses in brain at that time, the brain freeze kind of a thing. They are looking more visually. It's visual stimulus. For infants, children below 18 months, we say scientifically it has been told, these are research based, which I'm telling you, that no screen time, avoid it. I know in the world of technology that we are in, we have gadgets all around. It is very difficult for a child to stay away from it, but avoid it till 18 months of age, and after that probably a couple of minutes, and that too interactive. When the child is watching something, you interact in between, so that continuous visual stimulus is coming at a halt, and the child is also thinking about it and responding to a responsive kind of screen time. can be given, but not under 18 months of age. We do not recommend that. I hope I've answered your question. Well, there's a question that how can you keep your child engaged at home, 14-month-old child, indoor games, a lot of sensory games. You don't need expensive toys for this. I'm a mom, so I will tell you, just give the atta, the maida, the suji, whatever you have in the kitchen, the utensils that you have for the child to explore. You can give them what we do at school is often we give them water pouring. That you can keep a water play, but that is guided definitely. Then give a spoon and the child tries to attempt from one bowl to another, or pouring from small glass to another. You can give them chapati flour. If you don't have play-doh, you can give chapati flour for them to make chapatis out of it. Mix some dal or big rajma or something, big beans in it, and you say, help me segregate this. It is wonderful way to do that. They can play with pasta. 14 months usually cannot do it in string, but they can lace pasta into a straw. You can give them, and hollow pasta can go in a straw, like a penne kind of a pasta. So keep them engaged through stories. Please do read to them. Take this time opportunity that we have got to spend with a child. Talk to them, read to them, sing with them, do things together. Say, okay, I am in the kitchen, I'm cooking. Maybe when you're kneading the flour, let the child be and give him some flour to mix and play with it. So that's how you can keep him engaged in the inside the home. You can give him rolling ball. You roll the ball and object. These are things which you can play at home indoors. You don't have to go outdoors for it. And it will also help the child's gross motor and fine motor development. Yeah, let's dance together. You can put on the music for a 14-month-old, and I'm sure they will enjoy it and dance together to it and have fun. These are the things which I'm sure your child will enjoy. I hope I've answered that question too, giving some tips. Again, for 10-month-old baby, you can keep them engaged by giving, you can make a sensory tub, have different materials which feel differently. Giving them soft balls, hard balls, keeping some cotton or a sponge piece, these kind of materials at home which feel different. A texture, you can keep it in a bin or a tub, and you can keep the child engaged. They like to explore it, but only just be safe. Nothing small that the child can put in the mouth and can which would create any kind of choking. Sponge and all, when you're giving, just be a sound. Sometimes when they have teeth, they tend to pull a piece inside the mouth, so just be aware of it. You can put things inside little bottles, small bottles, and you can seal it. You can put rice and different kind of sensory material in it, right? Rice, dal, and in bottle, and seal it up with tape. And when they shake it, they're shakers, and they make of different sounds. So that is also very good for hearing, and they are engaged with those shakers for a very, very long time. So do that. Give them buttons, give them bowl and spoon to bang and make music out of it. This definitely a 10-month-old child will enjoy doing it. And yes, give them soft books. Winding toys or toys which can move are good for your child at this age. I think we are done already. I have taken more time. It's almost 12:40. We are above 10-15 minutes above the time. Thank you. Do write to us. Please send in your questions. And I'll get back to you with that. Please do mail the questions that I was not able to take it because of the time constraint. And I hope the session was thing. I'm seeing a lot of thank yous. Thank you, dear parents, for being a part of this. I hope the session was helpful in any way. Please send in your feedbacks. It really helps us. We are trying to do the best. We are trying to connect and share our experiences with you and help in any possible way. So thank you so much. I would now just sign off. Have a good day. I'm seeing so many thank yous, overwhelmed. Thank you so much. I hope it was informative. Please do let me know if the session was informative and useful for you in any way. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Please do. I'm sorry if some of the questions I've not been able to take it. Please send it in mail, and we'll try to get back to you with the answers that you need. We'll again connect on this. Thank